Okay, I mean, I think we can all agree that college is too expensive because we're all going to be in a lot of debt. But I wanted to start with like the fact that they talk about a two-tiered system, and they say that college experiences and career prospects depend on the wealth of your family. So I want to know your opinions on that. Do you guys agree with that?
I mean, obviously that's not fair. I actually was in a class like last week that the guy was explaining how he had a friend who was such a bad student, partied like crazy, had an awful GPA, got into Cornell because his dad was like had all this money being an Asian and shit. Failed out of Cornell, and then got a job on Wall Street. All because of like the stuff that his like family knew or whatever. So I mean, that's obviously that's like really like not fair. Like people who don't have that kind of resource.
It's just like with anything, honestly. College and like career are just as much connections as they are actually having aptitude for that field. Like because you could always like be a legacy of somewhere like that you see all the time that there are parents who have gone to these Ivy League schools and then their kids get into it just because of their legacy and they've been there before and they have the connections and stuff like that. And it's definitely well, not even sort of unfair. It's like totally unfair for the people who actually work hard to get to those places, and they're being beat out by people who don't necessarily deserve them. They just sort of are handed to them.
I know, thinking back to 8th grade, we, like, every month, like, they collect, like, the 8th grade class and bring them to the library, you know, it's like getting into college sessions. And they had this one, and I will always remember this because I thought it was so unfair. This one, like, you know, what helps you get into college? And one of them, the things, like, the scenarios was, like, the library at this college is, like, named after, like, John Jefferson, and John Jefferson is your father. And the librarian's like, you will get into that college then. And I'm like, it's kind of ridiculous.
It's crazy that it's true though. Like, that's the way the world actually works.
But I'll always remember that because my little 8th grade self thought that was so unfair.
The fact that it's unfair to an 8th grader, it's unfair to, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, if an 8th grader can recognize it, then I think we need to do something. Do you guys think, it talks about leaving the country with an undereducated workforce. Do you guys agree with that statement? It's on the next page, page 10. Yeah, you can talk.
I mean, obviously, like, if people aren't being handed the same opportunities, I think it said in an article that, like, if you don't get into college, or it's harder for people who don't have as many opportunities to finish college, so they just go straight to the workforce. So, yeah, they are undereducated because they don't have the college experience anymore.
And it did say that a lot more jobs are looking for college degrees. And so if a lot of people aren't getting them, then, like, they're not going to get the jobs.
So even now, like, a college degree doesn't guarantee you anything.
Yeah, and that really sucks. It's really, really unfortunate.
So it talks about how the United States does well in starting college, but not graduating. What do you guys think can be done?
I don't know, that one statistic killed me, the one that was like 45% of like, I can't find it, minority and low income students graduate, or something like that, within 6 years. It was like, that's kind of like unbelievable that like you accept them into the college, and then, I mean, they don't even finish, what's the point of accepting them if they're not, you know what I'm saying?
What's even more is that those people, those low income and minority students, because of affirmative action, it's easier for them to get into colleges than other people. So it's like you're giving more opportunities and they're sort of squandering them.
Yeah, but the article also talked about, like, they don't have the equal opportunity to public education before college.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think, like, even if they did go to, like, up to high school, like, you know, if they're not getting the same level of education we are, you know, there was some statistic from the ACTO, like 75% of students are not prepared to, like, read at a college level, and, like, that's something that you have to address, or, you know, we're going to get 55% of the low-income dropouts because they're just not prepared to go to college.
Do you guys think colleges have an obligation to help students succeed, or that students should go in ready to motivate themselves?
it has to be both. You can't. Well, like as a university, you can't just like leave your students out to dry. Like you are gonna have to take measures to make sure that at least like some type of monitoring technique where you make sure that people are getting along fine. But at the same time, I mean, college, we're adults. Like you have to learn how to take responsibility for your own actions. You have to learn how to go to class whenever you're supposed to and not go out and party. You have to understand how to balance those things if you're going to do those things. So it definitely has to be I'd say like a 50-50, even right down the middle.
I would actually go farther and say that college is kind of like that time where it's like kind of your time to shine. Like it's your time to prove yourself, your time to prove like all the skills that you've learned in the past 12, 13 years of schooling that you've had. And I think that when I came into college, the biggest thing that I noticed difference from high school was the kind of amount that I had to up my time management skills, because ultimately that's all that college is, because no one, like your parents aren't going to tell you do your homework, go do this, go do that. And I think that while the universities should play a role in doing so, it's kind of hard for the university, especially something like Penn State, to monitor 40,000 kids and what they're doing and when they're doing it. I mean, classes like that require attendance certainly do help, but even like requiring attendance isn't going to make a kid get out of bed, because we all know how much college kids like sleep.
No, I'm with you 100% too. I think like it's college's role to give you the options for like, I mean, like Penn State, there's how many tutors can you get for every class? Like there's some free too, but it's definitely on the student to actually go and get the tutor or go to, like you said, go to class. Like it's definitely 50-50, but I don't think the college can force you to succeed. Like you have to want to, like, especially.
I don't think it's the job of the college to like keep tabs on every child and make sure they're going to classes. But like they talked about like that posse group where you introduce the students to a group of their peers, and they kind of like moderate amongst each other, which I think is a good idea. I don't think it's the job of the university to be like, why aren't you going to class? Like I think it's the job of the university to introduce like ideas to help the children advance to uphold their ideas through college.
I think more of what I was getting at was colleges, like their primary job is to have the resources. Like put the resources there, and then it's up to the students to decide how to use those resources and if they want to take advantage of them. Not more like, oh, we saw your GPA is a little bit low, you need to get on it. But like, there's nothing worse than doing a bad job because there's no one there to help you. Like not having help available whenever you need help. That's way worse than like anything, because you're trying to get help but you can't. So the main thing colleges need to do is just put resources there, have tutors, have study sessions, have whatever, and then let the students go whenever they choose, and then that'll just make up for all the responsibility.
Something that I noticed when I was visiting schools, my final two options were between Penn State and Elizabethtown, and Elizabethtown is like smaller than most of your high schools and double the price of this. And
I have 20 kids in my class in high school.
Well, maybe not you, but it was like double the price of this. And I visited their psychology department, and they do not let you fail. They have all of they literally hold your hand through the program and make sure that you succeed. And I don't know if it's because it's double the price or because it's so much smaller, but I think it's just an interesting point that some universities provide more resources than others, whereas here
I think that's the thing. Like, I had a teacher who was like, if you are putting in the effort and you're just like, if you are giving your all to this class and you're just like bad at test taking, or you can't grasp what you need to, I will not let you fail this class, which I think is not exactly that, but kind of the approach they need to take. Like, if the students are motivated, they need to like offer the help, like extend the hand, but it's up to the students to take it. They can't just be like, I'm going to drag you and make sure you graduate college, because that's like not what college is about. The students have to take it upon themselves. They have to be motivated to want to graduate college. But I don't think that the university should just leave them there or, do it for them.
The problem with that, though, is like especially in big universities, I think it's kind of a big burden on the teachers to kind of gauge how dedicated each student really is, because you can have those students that they will ask questions in class, they will participate, they will go to office hours, and they will show that they're making that effort. But there are also those kids that maybe the shyer kids that don't ask questions in class, but still could be doing just as much, if not more, work back in their dorms studying. And I think that it's nice when teachers do say things like that, like if I see you putting in effort, if I know that you're dedicated to this class, I will help you out. But at the same time, it's hard for teachers to also see those other kids who it's not as apparent that they're making the effort.
Like 300.
Yeah. I remember my dad was telling me he had a class in high school and the professor was like, you don't have to participate, you don't have to do anything, and I'll give you a B. And like that, you'll finish with a B. You can sit in the back of the class and not do anything, or you can get an A. And like actually, and like I think that's a good way to like gauge like which students are actually motivated.
I think one of the important points that we sort of like walked past was colleges sort of have a reputation to keep. Because you lose a lot of credibility if it turns out that 40% of your students aren't graduating. How are you going to keep getting funded if you're not educating your students in the right way? So I think that's another convention to consider. Like colleges want to keep inflating their reputation, so more people come there, and the cycle just keeps on repeating, because it's been proven before that colleges that do a bad job of educating their students, they don't stick around too long. You don't ever hear about them.
Right, and kind of at the same time, there's the flip side of that. The colleges that want to keep their reputation as very prestigious colleges, very rigorous academic colleges. Like, I think that it was Yale that they can only give, it's something like 45% of their students, like in each class, A's. So even if you earn the amount of points to get an A, if you're not in that highest 45% of the students, you don't get an A.
Yeah, they do bell curve grading.
Right, exactly. And I think that at the same
Literally
time,
be so pissed.
It's rough.
so it's more about that competitive nature, and they just want to keep that so that they keep, I guess, the top students coming to their schools.
If you want kids, I was gonna say that too. If you want kids to be competitive, that's the way to do it.
I mean, that's what you have to do after
I would
college.
go nuts. I would go crazy.
But I think the problem with this is that the students can't compete because they're just not ready to compete at that kind of level.
The article talks a lot about equal opportunity for students in college, which we all know doesn't exist right now. What do you guys think can be done to give all students who want to go to college an equal chance to attempt and complete it? They talk about financial aid and scholarships and online courses.
Yeah, I think it's
Say like take out more loans, but
low class
it's just like a hard issue that
most of the time you have to be really well in high school.
to me, it starts before obviously we have a problem with public schools here, so if they're not getting people ready for college,
last semester, literally.
they have to also get into the college, which is the problem also. They get in and stay in. I don't know. I think it starts before.
Establishing equality, especially in settings like this, is really, really difficult. Just because you can't really do certain things and still say they're equal. Like you can't give some students more than the others, because that's not really equality. Like you'd have to give everyone the same amount of everything, and at that point you're just putting them back in the same situation that they were at in the first place. So it's really hard to be equal and make everything fair for everyone, because people will definitely complain, and there's already complaints about why is everyone given different amounts of money, like with FAFSA and whatnot. People are given different money depending on their situations. well, it's not really the people who have higher incomes' fault that they're in a better situation than others, yet they're being given less money and stuff like that. So it's just a really tough spot, like for everyone to say like we're trying to be equal and give everyone a fair chance.
I mean, like, I think it's gonna be almost next to impossible to make everyone equal, because I mean, no matter what you do, you're going to be taking away from someone and giving to someone else, and then there's going to be fits pitched. And I think like the only way to do this is to like give college over to the government, like like they do in Europe, and I know that's not going to fly. So I think it's like impossible to really enact something that's going to make everyone equal.
It's also free, right?
Yeah.
What do they do in Europe? I don't know how that works.
College is free.
All colleges.
That's ideal.
Wow.
It's a lot more competitive though.
I would imagine.
Yeah, but don't they start teaching like to their major like in elementary school?
Yeah, in like I think it's like
Pretty
it's like
much.
no, it's like fourth grade. You have to decide what you're gonna do with your life. Because there's like 3 different schools that you can go to. You can go to the school that's gonna gear you towards college. You can go to the school that's gonna gear you towards the workforce. Or I can't remember what the third school is. But when you're that young, your parents have to decide for you what you're gonna do with your life.
Yeah, see, something like that would not.
It's not gonna fly.
It would not work here.
They seem happy over there.
They
Well,
seem
in some
they
places.
seem happy, but they're not America.
But they're not America, yeah.
I mean, definitely one for
I'm like, they said several times in this article, America is the land of opportunity. And so they're like, if you're making our children choose at this young, that's not opportunity,
Yeah.
because they're going to get stuck into something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
And then it's
And
too
then
late
your
to
whole-
back out.
Your
Yeah.
whole having freedom to do what you want, that idea completely goes out of the window.
I mean, I guess it's okay if you decide to go to college, because you can always back out of that. But if you decide to go to like a trade school, and you learn how to be like an air conditioner repairman, and you really wanted to be the president, like you can't. You're
Yeah.
stuck in what your parents decided you wanted to do.
Honestly.
Here, I feel like not that like college is too late to decide what you want to do, but maybe start instilling ideas earlier about options and like what you can do with your life, and maybe like finding ways to apply them. Because people finish college and then they don't find a job, and then they change what they want to do. They have to go back to school, and then they're 30 and so like a job. So maybe start earlier, but not as early as 40.
I think even starting earlier would be
Earlier than 4th grade.
like starting earlier in general. Like if you think about it, even if you decide or like start getting an idea of what you're gonna do, you could get to college and find out that is not what you want to do at all, and then you end up changing your mind anyway. So it's like, do you really want to start earlier whenever everyone's going to change their mind when they get to college anyway? Because I know a lot of people, even from the first semester, have switched majors. So I don't know. Do you think it's worth it?
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, though, like, I've never been, like, my first job fair was high school, like, I didn't know any, like, I knew jobs, obviously, but only, like, what I'm surrounded with, I didn't know how many, like, things you could actually do with your life.
I mean, I know living in state college for like the past 3 years, the high school students, we had the opportunity to come to the college and sit in classes. So, I'm like, that was really a big deal, to be able to see like, oh, I don't like that, I don't want to do that, or, I really like this. But I'm like, I know that's like going to be impossible to give to everyone.
Once again, that equality thing is really tough.
What do you guys think of the statement? It says, one of the cons of the first option says, basing policies on a student's income rather than on his or her academic achievements or hard work in high school. What do you guys think of that? Do you think that's fair?
Basing it off of income instead of nothing you do is going to be fair. Well, I'm
not doing anything.
Well, no.
Life's not
Yeah, like, I mean, I think basing it off of academic achievement is actually better than basing it off of income. Just because, I mean, I know that some people aren't given total equal opportunities when it comes to education and, like, academic success, but, like, if you base it off of income, then there's absolutely no play in that by the student at all. Like, you're not the one making your income, so whether you're put into a bad or a good situation, that's completely out of your hands. And that's totally unfair. I think that's more unfair than basing it off of academic process.
Right, and if you did that, there would be absolutely no motivation. You know, it would,
That's true.
You would just tell your parents to make less money.
exactly.
Is yours recorded?
I think most of these options, I mean, they're not bad, but like requiring professors and counselors to invest more time in tutoring and mentoring and should offer more effective remedial courses. I don't think that's, I think that's like what we talked about before, like they're gonna lend you the hand, you have to take it. What do you think of more online courses?
I don't know. The whole credibility thing too comes in when you do like only online courses or something like that. But I mean, at the end of the degree, you get this Penn State on it. So.
Yeah, I don't really know how online courses work because I haven't taken them. I know people take them.
Yeah, no, I hate mine.
Most of the time, whenever I heard of people taking online courses, they always say it's a joke. So I'm not sure how well those classes actually.
Yeah, they don't.
I know my sister took an online course last semester, and it seemed like she was putting in like at least 3 times as much work for her online course than she was for in-person courses, because I don't know this. I know this doesn't apply for all online courses, but I think it's because it was online that the teacher was applying like 6 times more pressure on the students.
Chime in. Depends on the university in terms of the kind of guidelines they have for online courses. So, for example, Penn State, each college has control over how they offer their courses. For liberal arts, there's a centralized process. So, if you take an online course, you have to make students do an activity, which is a homework activity, which is written every single week. And if it's a class that meets 3 times a week, there has to be something, even if it's just a short quiz with 2 questions, that you do 3 times a week. So she's right in terms of the amount of work you put into it. But obviously each college can have some control over how they design it. So you could have varying levels of work that goes into an online course. But it's true, there are some work campus courses where you have to do extra work if you take it online because they have to check to make sure you're not reading.
That makes sense though, like because otherwise, I mean, you have to have some type of trade-off for convenience.
Just wanted to chime in because I figured it would be helpful. You're all first-year students, and if you're ever taking it, look into But it's worth knowing. Go in and check and ask your advisors about each college and how they structure the online coursework. Because if you think okay, this is going to be easier because I have already 4 courses I'm adding this on, you may actually have more work.
Which is, I mean, that's how it should be though. If you're gonna add another course, add another course.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you know?
My online course is like kind of difficult, but like I just forget it exists all the time. Yeah. Like I have more classes.
I took an online course in high school, and that's what it was like. And I'm like, oh, done with the day, but I have to go home and take my online course.
I like physics
was
to
either
11
an online
isn't
course
totally
or
online,
lunch.
but they do their homework assignments online. It's a program called Mastering Physics, and like it's so easy to forget. Like it's so easy. Like I've only forgotten one assignment. It was actually last week. And I was just sitting there, and it was like 10:30 on Sunday, and I was like, did I forget to do something? Like, oh man! And then the assignments are due at 11:45, and they take a pretty good amount of time. So it did not go well.
I had the same thing with 212, except for some reason, so our teacher makes them do on a certain date, so it's like Tuesday and Thursday, but he makes them do at 2 a.m. So I'll be like, oh, it's due on Thursday, I'll just do it on Thursday. And then like, I'll forget, it's due at 2 a.m.
On Thursday?
Yeah, so it's basically due Wednesday night. And it's just not working.
That's just cruel. That's just like messing with your head.
2 a.m. like in the morning, like
2 a.m. Thursday morning.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah, like,
And he's always changing around the assignments. Go on, and like they'll always be like pushed forward or like moved back like every random day.
I know the language department, they do a lot online too. And I know my German class last semester, all our quizzes were online, and I know they were really easy to forget because it was like due Saturday at 5 p.m., which we didn't have the class on Friday because you have it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So if you don't like do it immediately after class, you go into your weekend mode, and then come Sunday and you're like, crap, I forgot to do my quiz. So I don't think like solely online is really that good of an idea because it's just so easy to slip the mind.
It's like I think it only works for certain like fields. Like in certain fields like a math class or like a physics class or something like that.
You need someone there to check your work.
Hands on.
Yeah.
You need to sit down and do it on paper and pencil and have TAs check it and stuff like that, or else you're not really gonna get the concepts. Because I know for a fact some people will just go look up all the answers. So,
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say it's another issue with online courses. You can
Yeah.
like Google the course, then you can have a list of all the answers.
and like me personally, I would rather take an in-person language course than online
Yeah.
language course, just because like
Because
you could
it's-
always ask the teacher like.
It's a foreign language you're
Exactly.
learning.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not like, oh well, it's a foreign language. I'll just pick this up in my free time. You can't.
It's easier to learn when you're engaged.
Yeah.
I know, like I'm taking online class and I know that you would probably be interested in it, and if there was someone talking to me about it, like just like they're hitting you like pages and pages of reading and then like quizzes and reading and quizzing.
See, mine's not like that. It's literally like a story about a guy who got abducted by aliens and like,
Astro?
yeah. Wait, what section?
My friends say that class is so weird.
Really? The video game one or the story one? It's so weird. And they ask you questions about like this foreign planet. I'm like, I'm learning nothing. Like this planet isn't real. Like it's like, oh, like how many times does the moon orbit Smex? That's like the name of the planet. And I'm like,
They send me pictures of like the guy just like sitting in the jail cell.
yeah, that's me.
It's like the weirdest thing.
And we have to like answer questions
They
to
say it's
save
like
Earth.
really dark too.
Like I guess it gives me like a sense of power. Like I'm saving Earth, but like otherwise.
Okay, so as a group, we're iffy about more online classes.
I think that like the whole online LA, like a lot of like our assignments are due like online and like online. Yeah. And I don't really like that personally. Like I like the whole paper pen kind of thing, writing it down. Old school. Technology and like so overwhelming. So that's why
I think there's a way to make them. I think if you watch like I mean, there's one thing too, like you can do like those conference like Skypes or whatever.
Yeah.
Certain ways to, I think if that is like implemented more, I mean, as like more time
My
passes.
friend is taking a class at like College of Michigan or something, and it's like her class has like 5 kids in it, but they all go in and they sit in a room, and they Skype into the class that's being given in the College of Michigan.
That's pretty cool.
That would be much better than just like a regular online course.
And like with online courses, you can also like have it like 4 days online and then meet in class one day to talk about what you've done. And I think that might be beneficial.
That would be ideal.
Then you're having the physical interaction. And, you can ask your questions and you can have someone check your work and make sure you're understanding.
I think that a really good way to do it, and this is how the physics department does it. I'm taking 212 right now, and what they do is they have all those online homework assignments, which are admittedly they are forgettable. Like you can forget to do them, but they also have one day where you have to go in and do a lab, which is. I mean, my experience right now, basically you sit in front of a computer with 2 other kids and you kind of do like this whole demo through some sort of simulated program, but you have a sheet of paper and you have to answer all these different conceptual questions, and the teacher comes by and checks them. And a lot of the times, my group, like we can't answer 1 or 2 of the questions in the entire lab, so we have to get this whole lengthy explanation from one of the TAs, and I think that's really helpful in like letting us understand the concepts. And then the other thing we have to do is go to a recitation, which is basically just problem solving. And I think that the combination of the lab and the recitation and the homework kind of really brings everything together, because you have those 2 things and you're kind of working on conceptual things, and then you have the problem solving.
Like apply it.
Right. I mean, I guess it would be helpful if you did have someone to help you along with the problem solving. Like in my high school, when I took the same class, what we did is we had webassigns, and they were like really lengthy webassigns. Like if you saved it to the last night, it would take you like 10 hours to do. Like it was ridiculous. But we came in the next day after it was due, and he'd ask us if we had any questions on any problems, and obviously we did because he gave us the most ridiculous problems. And so we'd go over the ones that were really hard on the board, and he wouldn't. Most of the time, he wouldn't say, "All right, like here's how you do it." He would ask whoever in the class got the problem and understood it, and that kid would come up to the front of the class and teach the entire class how to do it. And I think that was a really good way to kind of work through the problem solving.
I mean, I know in my math class in high school, we had like the board problems, and you had to do like 3 per 9 weeks, and my teacher, he'd write numbers from the homework up on the board, and you had to explain that problem to the class, and that was how we checked our homework, is by having the different kids in the class explain to us, and like that's helpful, but I don't think it's practical.
I think that it could go either way in terms of being practical. Like I know that in my physics class, I'd say 75% of the class didn't know how to like teach others the skills that they knew because they were all brilliant kids. Like there's one kid building a motorcycle in my class, and he went up to explain problems on the board. He would kind of write like a couple things and then turn around and be like, "Do you get it?" And we'd all just be sitting there like, "No, we don't, sorry." But like when I would go up there and I would like go through very like methodically and explain it, and I think that one of the best ways to learn something is when you explain what you know or what you think you know to someone else. And I think that in that way it did help me because when I would get to kind of like a gray area in a problem, like where I wasn't really sure what my thought process was, the teacher would question me and question me and question me and question me until I actually had the right thought process and the right ideas.
That's good. I really agree with that actually too. I think repetition and that's how I study. Like, oh, do you need help? Like, even if I don't know it that well, I'll try to like explain it to them, and that helps me. But to go back to the way that you're not gonna get that in the whole class unless you mix it. Maybe if they mix it, that would be like a good like compromise between. I mean, you could cut costs a little bit, but then are you gonna have to pay teachers less if they do that kind of stuff?
And also think that
That could create some problems.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, my online textbook was still $100.
Honestly, I cannot deal with this.
I was like, oh, like online, like $20, like, and then I go on and it's just like $101.
Yeah, for like a series of letters and numbers to type in. Yeah, the access code.
For like an in-art class.
That's like my German class. We have to have an online textbook, and that book cost me more than all my other textbooks combined. It was like $280 for one book.
And then you can't sell it at the end of the semester.
Yes.
Slug books. That's what I use. It compares everybody else's prices. It has a price.
I used my daddy's money.
My parents were like, oh, if you're going to take an online class and be too lazy to go to class, you're going to pay for it.
I have like a semesterly textbook money that I can draw from, and it's like if my books go over that, then I have to pay for it from my own pocket. Don't worry, spell check. It's a wonderful thing.
Let's talk about the price of textbooks. That's a good topic. On top of all the money you're paying for college.
It's almost...
And then you could sell it for like $7 at the end of the semester and get yourself some Chipotle and you're like on top of the world.
I took my chem book and my econ book to that place, and he was like, all right, $15. I'm like,
I'm like, you're freaking
for
kidding me.
each
I
of the
paid
books? He's like, no,
$150
for
for
both
this.
of them. And I was like, what?
How much you pay upfront? 200.
I'd say like the chem textbook I probably got for like 100, and econ was probably like 50. And so I told him that, and he was like, okay, well, the chem book says Penn State University on it, so it lowers the value. And the econ book, I think we're using a different book next semester. I'm like, oh, so that makes it like 10% of the value.
Frustrating to like
Yeah.
we're paying like $30 and then like, not even, I have a professor where he made his own textbook and put all the lectures on CDs.
It's almost
Yeah, so like I go to the class, he said only come to class if you have questions. So I'm paying for the class, but I'm also paying for the textbook for his lectures. I don't know.
it's almost like a motivation like not to buy the textbook because I know that some classes like my bio class, she said the textbook is optional.
Yeah, I was like, no.
It's optional if you don't get it.
Exactly, but yet she has like suggested readings, and I'm like, oh, if I want to do well in this class, like I'm gonna get the textbook obviously, because I'd rather like spend $60 on something and get an A in the class than have to struggle through it. But the suggested readings, like they don't really go along with what we're learning in class, so it almost makes it more difficult. So every time that I have to pay more money for a textbook, I'm just gonna be like, I don't think it's really worth it.
Yeah.
Which is like, I think
As
it's
soon
kind
as I
of
hear
flawed.
optional, it's like,
The most irritating is whenever a textbook is supposedly required and you like don't use
Never
it.
use
Yeah.
it.
That's the most irritating thing ever.
but I think not by law, but like it's in like the university's best interest, like recommend textbooks because I know I have this kind of like waiting period or whatever for econ. The guy's like, listen guys, like, you want to get like an A, you don't really have to buy the textbook. But, I mean, it's kind of good to have. So like the first day I was like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, I'm not gonna get the textbook. And then his TA was like, yeah, like I think there must be a deal with like textbook companies or something like that. They have to say, they have to at least like
the idea.
exactly, so I mean it's kind of like that's a good rip off to me. Really. Just be straight up with it.
Not to mention paying for our laundry.
Yeah.
I have so many rants about this stupid
I know, like, last semester, I had a class, and we had to get 4 books for it, all published within the year of 2013, which means you had to buy them all new, and you couldn't rent any of them, and I'm like, this is really stupid. Like, I'm like, it's just aggravating the way that they deal with textbooks.
And how much did textbooks change from 2012 to 2013?
They probably changed like that to like
To what?
something else. Took it out.
Jack probably makes so
This
much money.
sucked. Yeah, this comma was unnecessary.
Yeah.
We can do a general consensus.
Everything money in college is irritating.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. It's like the textbook companies aren't going to help.
Good luck.
And then there are also kids who can't afford textbooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are they just supposed to go to class and barely afford the class and then barely afford a textbook? Are they supposed to just
I just wish it was like high school where you had a class set of textbooks.
And then if you lost the book, you had to pay for it. And usually you can get away without doing that.
I mean, I guess it's hard because there's some classes with huge amounts of students, but like, how much is it costing the university to buy books as opposed to each individual student? But like, it's much more of a hardship on us, I think, to
Yeah.
buy individual textbooks for hundreds of dollars than it is for the university to step in and say, well, we're just gonna buy this set amount of textbooks. You can probably get a much cheaper price than we can because you're buying so many. And just go from there, but oh god.
I know that was like in high school, there was this one textbook, and my teacher's like, I have a lot of kids who actually like enjoy this textbook, so if you want to keep yours, come to me and tell me, because like, I can order it in bulk and it costs me about half as much as it will if you want to buy it yourself.
Wow, so you enjoyed the textbook enough to like buy it.
I just loved this textbook.
I just love this textbook, Mr. Merritt. Can I please have it?
The text in this book was just
This
fabulous.
is my textbook from so-and-so class from 3 years ago. I just loved it so much I had to hold on to
I mean,
it.
it wasn't like math, so it's not like they were sitting at home doing the problem.
What was it?
It was comparative politics.
Okay.
That would make more sense than math.
It's probably a good read for
I
other
just
people.
loved my chemistry book so much that I couldn't
Yeah.
part with it.
Oh, man.
Actually, we didn't have chemistry textbooks.
Really?
Yeah.
We had chemistry.
I'm like, we had textbooks, but we never even touched them.
This is military time, correct?
Yes. Oh, it's also on Italy time too. So it's 6 hours.
It's 10:54.
Okay. I figured that 1654 is a
It will say like 1654.
Talking about
when you
America's
see
weird times.
It's a military and Italy time.
it. Well, because my parents live in Italy, so when I call them, I like it's 1654, which is 4 p.m. So like when I call them, I like to know what time it is, so I'm not calling them at like 2 in the morning.
Difficult. I might want to stop.